Today on Law Weekly, we continue our assessment of the performance of the judiciary in 2018. We have two views on the show today. Mr. Wahab Shittu, who is a foremost prosecutor for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and Mr. Victor Opara, who has a front row seat in some high-profile corruption cases as a defense lawyer. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Shola Shieli. We begin straight away with the views of Mr. Shittu. I started by asking him to assess how the judiciary fared in year 2018.
I think if I were in a position to award marks, I would say the performance of judiciary in 2018 is far above average. I would score them generally 85%.
Right. Because
of the tremendous reforms that the Chief Justice of the Federation introduced into the administration of justice system at all levels, including the monitoring mechanisms put in place to check excesses, previous excesses like the element of delay, including far-reaching measures put in place by the body of senior advocates of Nigeria at the inspiration of the Chief Justice of the Federation. So you can see reforms pervading all sectors of the judiciary. At the Federal High Court level, you see practice directions. At the Court of Appeal level, you see practice directions. At the Supreme Court level, you see practice directions. Notably, the establishment of special courts of the Supreme Court aimed at accelerating proceedings, which is unprecedented. This has never happened before. And you find out that corruption-related cases, cases bordering on terrorism, and other cases that would impact on the economy are given privacy. And there is a sense of justice and a sense of speed, because there is a realization that justice must not only be delivered, it must be speedily delivered. And that all of these have a way of impacting on the economy. If you have a system that delivers slowly on dispensation of justice, such a system is unlikely to be able to attract investments. And then all of this. So, and even at the level of arbitration, you see reforms being put in place to guide practitioners and then accelerate proceedings. So mainly because of the conscious reform measures put in place by the Chief Justice of the Federation, I will score them very high. And again, you see, unlike, it has never happened before where you see a Chief Justice of the Federation coming out to set up an independent body to monitor the activities of, our court system. I'm talking of the Justice Galadima-led, committee. So these are far-reaching measures. And then you also noted that during the year, the Chief Justice specifically directed the body of senior advocates to put in place training mechanisms in order to fully integrate aspirants or those who are elevated to the inner bar, to guide them in terms of ethical standards and what they are supposed to. So you find a kind of training being organized for those who were appointed as senior advocates, even before they were sworn in. That has never happened before. So because of these measures, and likely because you see even in the Supreme Court this year, a lot of notable pronouncements were handed down. The one that really comes to mind now is the case of FRN, Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Gabriel Daudu, where you see the Supreme Court coming out to say, okay, in money laundering cases, when the prosecution has established as a public office holder has funds or assets in essence of legitimate earnings, the evidential body shifts to the said public office holder to establish how he came about the excess income. This has lessened the burden of proof, particularly in money laundering cases, and it's a major, stride by the apex court, to advance the war against corruption. So if you are going to look at it, and if you look at various training programs that were, instituted during the year to train and retrain our judges and other, players in the justice delivery system. You come out with the inescapable conclusion that it is no longer business as usual. You find a judiciary that is ready to collaborate with the executive, particularly in ridding the country of graft.
I'm glad that you touched on the issue of graft, because that's where I want us to go next. Would you say that the agencies of government collaborated more in year 2018? Would you say that they performed better?
Well, initially there were areas of concern, particularly when you saw the activities of DSS, clamping down on judges without reference to other, sister agencies. And you saw at the beginning what appeared to be seeming confusion in the coordination of the activities of, these anti-graft agencies. But things gradually stabilized during the year. And what you see now is increased collaboration between all the agencies. You do not see the kind of infighting between these agencies that you saw at the beginning. Mainly, I think those who were in charge, took, certain fundamental lessons, and then now you see greater collaboration. And then during the year, you find out that brighter minds are now being, appointed to service some of these agencies. I mean, if you see the ICPC, for instance, you have Professor Bolaji Owasoye, who's now been appointed as the chairman of the body. Already, Magu is performing wonders already in EFCC. So you can see, and these are players who are known to each other. So we are not likely to see a lot of rivalry between EFCC and ICPC. And the DSS, with some of the changes that have been brought into the operations, largely because of the change of gas, mainly instigated by the then acting president, Professor Yemi Osibajo. You now find, greater adherence to ethical and professional standards. And you see increased collaboration between these anti-graft agencies. So now there is cohesiveness. There is uniformity of operations. And then both of them seem to unite around a common agenda to fight and combat corruption in our land, which is the main agenda of the Buhari administration.
But despite this cohesiveness that you talked about, how far-reaching would you say that the anti-graft war of the federal government is? For
instance, if you look at the record of convictions posted by EFCC in 2018, a total number of 312 convictions were recorded. And this included, high-profile convictions, former governors of Taraba State, Jolin Yame, and former governor of Plateau State, Yusuf Dari, were all convicted, and they are serving prison terms in Kuje prisons. This is very unprecedented. And I earlier made reference to the Gabriel Daudu case. That's the case I prosecuted up to the Supreme Court, involving the conviction of a former executive chairman of Ogurimagungu local government. And if you look at the magnitude of convictions recorded this year alone by EFCC, it's unprecedented. And this is 2018. And all this happened under Magu's watch. So you begin to wonder, what kind of wicked is this Magu?
Towards the end of year 2018, the EFCC arraigned the president of the Nigerian Bar on charges of money laundering. Now, is the commission, the EFCC, now an auditor of funds received by a lawyer from his clients? Because one of the prevailing arguments out there is that government fund cannot be said to be coming from a wrong custody, and EFCC cannot be said to be looking into funds paid by a client to his lawyer.
Well, I wouldn't want to comment on the merits of the charge against the NBA president, because it's a subject of ongoing criminal proceedings and there is sub judice. And honestly, if you were to ask me, I think we should also allow the court to do their job. But beyond that, if we want to, one is allowed to comment generally. I think most of the people, commentators on this subject have not bothered to look closely at the instant laws. For instance, I would prefer a pronouncement, a considered pronouncement that is taken after exhaustive examination of all the relevant laws that we have. You can see the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act, the Money Laundering Act, the fraud related Act, and several other a host of legislations on anti-graft, on curbing anti-graft that we now have in our country. If you look at all these, laws closely, you will see that EFCC or the anti-graft agency, if I was to speak generally, are acting generally within their mandate. And if you see pronouncements that have been made by the Supreme Court in some other cases, like Attorney General of Abia State and some other line of cases like that, they have said that these anti-graft laws, EFCC Act, ICPC Act, have covered the entire field. There are legislations that cover even state revenues and state activities, and they are meant generally to further the war against corruption as enshrined in Section 15(6) of the Constitution. Because you see, if you look at the Sections 15(6) of the Constitution, the state, and when you say the state, you are talking of not only the federal, state, and the local government have a duty to ensure that they put mechanisms in place to combat corruption. So it is a policy, a standard policy, recognized by the Constitution, which is the supreme law, the uncommanded commander. So if laws are then made in furtherance of that philosophy, they are marked in the Constitution. Nobody will say that such laws are made in contravention of the Constitution. And again, it's also open to those who are being charged under some of these laws to challenge any of such perceived violation, if any. So I think what we should emphasize is a democracy that is anchored on the rule of law, a democracy that is anchored on respect for the Constitution, which is the ground law. So once any action is taken contrary to the Constitution or the extant laws, those affected are entitled to challenge. And I believe that we should begin to invest greater faith in our judiciary. And most people don't know that our judiciary is easily one of the best, not only in Africa, but in the entire world. You find some of the brightest brains in our judiciary. And they should be allowed to function effectively, unimpeded, without any interference. We should have confidence in our judiciary. I for one, I believe that if your case is bad, it will be thrown out. The anti-graft agencies who have their days in court, those who are also arraigned for various offenses, also have their days in court. They are entitled to the counsel, some of the best counsel. Our lawyers, some of the best counsel are available to the defense. So let us have a robust litigation practice that will allow all parties involved to have a meaningful day in court. And we cannot begin to assist the process if we begin to suspect, elements operating within the process even before they are allowed, to function effectively. So my belief is that so long as we emphasize efficient and effective investigation, efficient and effective, prosecution, and efficient and effective adjudication, then our judiciary will grow, our jurisprudence will grow, and our democracy will grow. And we cannot achieve all of these growth and development indicators if we do not have confidence in the system. So I think it behoves on everyone, every counsel, every player, every practitioner in the temple of justice to preach confidence, to get people to invest confidence in the system, because the alternative to that will be anarchy.